Welcome to the Torqueconomics weekly automotive update leading up to the 6th of July 2025. Let's dive right into our releases and discontinuations monitor. We start with a facelift to the 911 Carrera 4S. As a refresher, in the college degree you need to understand the 911 lineup. The 4S is the all-wheel drive version of the S variant in the 911 family, S being a more powerful version of the base 911 Carrera. Prices in the UK are revealed to start at £127,000, which equates to $173,000. What is new to this generation of the 4S is that it now comes in the Cabriolet and Targa versions. Cabriolet being the full convertible, whereas Targa being the half-shell convertible. These cars will produce 473 horsepower and comes in PDK only. Moving on to the Ferrari Amalfi. Wait, what I have on screen now is actually the Roma. Unlike the typical facelift, Ferrari has decided to name their new car an entirely different name, despite looking very similar and retaining the same engine as well as the gearbox. Perhaps this is due to the waning sales for the Roma. The Roma initially sold well, with over 1,000 units in both 2021 and 2022, but data could not be found for subsequent years. The biggest change from the Roma probably comes from the interior. The haptic buttons on the steering wheel will once again be fitted with proper buttons, although it still remains a touchscreen climate control system within the center console. Moving on, the current generation of the CLA 45 is coming to an end, with a final edition available until the end of this year. Available in both coupe and shooting brake versions, the car retains the 410 horsepower output, just with exterior modifications. It will be available in mountain grey Magno or night black Uni, which are interesting ways to say dark grey and black. Both colour options are fitted with yellow accents and microfiber interiors. Interestingly, the current CLA 45 is sold along with the next generation of the normal CLA models. The AMG version of the new CLA has not been unveiled, but normal models are selling well. Reports have found that Mercedes are adding a third shift to assembly lines just to keep up with demand. Range Rover is coming out with a full production performance version of the Range Rover Sport called the SV. Previously, the SV trim was only available as a limited production run in 2024. No doubt some of those original buyers won't be too happy with their limited cars now available to anyone with a checkbook. The SV uses the same V8 twin-turbo engine as the X5M and the X6M, borrowed from BMW, called the S63. It will do 0 to 62 miles or 100 km per hour in 3.6 seconds. Impressive for a 2.5-ton SUV. Ariel Atom, the track-focused road car, is getting its most powerful version yet, called the 4RR. The 4RR will retain the Honda K20 engine found in the Type R, but power is kicked up to 525 horsepower. This is 125 more than the normal Ariel Atom, as well as 210 more than the Type R. Even more impressive is that this is also 25 more than the once famous Ariel Atom V8, which used an engine that was based on two Suzuki motorcycle engines drafted together. Lastly, in releases this week, Alpine returned to its rally roots with a factory-prepared rally racing version of its A290 EV hatch. Hydraulic handbrake is certainly a very cool addition, along with an FIA certified roll cage. However, expect to spend over $70,000 for one of these if it meets your eyes. Into the headlines of the week. Dodge, famous for its use of the HEMI V8, is having its Charger EV recalled in the US for being too quiet. Pedestrian safety rulings require that cars travelling below 12 miles per hour to produce at least 56 decibels of noise, which equates to a quiet conversation. The irony is certainly not lost here with Dodge. Although Dodge fans might not have to wait too long for something traditional owners would like to see, as the company has just announced the return of the SRT branding. SRT stands for Street and Racing Technology. The brand was originally formed to develop the SRT Viper. We might not see another Viper given emission regulations. However, return of the V8 is certainly on the tables, as Ram has recently added the V8 back to its lineup. Note that the current plans for the Charger is only for a 6-cylinder coming later this year. Bentley rebranded with a new logo this week, and you might not even recognize it if you do not look for it. The new Winged Bee logo further simplifies on the original design by removing the bottom portion of the logo. At this rate, we might just have the bee in another century, as the design revolution has basically been removing the elements one by one. There were some exciting news from the brand if you can afford it. Bentley has started working with Akrapovic, specifically adding an exhaust option for the Continental GT sports car, as well as the Flying Spur sedan. Let's take a listen. BMW has set a new lap record at the Nürburgring with its M2 CS for the compact car segment. The M2 CS managed to achieve a time of 7 minutes and 25 seconds. This marks the newest entry in the competition between BMW and Audi for the title of the fastest compact car at the ring. Audi first set a time of 7 minutes and 40 seconds in 2021 with its RS3. BMW then took the title using a base M2 Coupe in 2023, with a time of 7 minutes and 38 seconds. RS3 fought back with its facelift in 2024, achieving a time of 7 minutes and 33 seconds, before the M2 CS now taking it back again. Now looking at some financial news. Lotus Emira will continue its production in the UK after the local government signalled willingness to support the manufacturing plant as it employs over 1,300 people. The UK government has already also pledged £2.5 billion for research and development for the local car industry. Renault reports an $11 billion loss on its 37% Nissan ownership after the merger between Nissan and Honda fell through. Nissan is in turmoil as its sales decline and reputation stales. The company had to recall another 440,000 vehicles over its variable compression turboed engine used in both its SUVs and sedans. The company is already known for its infamously unreliable CVT transmission throughout the 2010s. The Nissan variable compression turboed engine is complex as it dynamically adjusts compression ratios whilst the vehicle is in operation. A complex multi-link system improves fuel economy but has evidently worsened reliability even further. The US administration passed a bill called the Big Beautiful Bill this week. The bill contains various clauses impacting all aspects of life in America. However, in relation to automotives, a couple of things have stood out. Car loans on US assembled vehicles will have tax incentives of up to $10,000. In addition, both incentives for clean fuel and clean vehicles are ending by September this year. What this means is that electric vehicles including the Tesla Model 3 will be more expensive as the original $7,500 for new or $4,000 for used tax credit will no longer be available. June US vehicle sales this year have declined to levels lower than previous years at the same time. As shoppers are no longer rushing to get ahead of automotive tariffs, many are taking their time now to find a suitable deal. This is unsurprising given the elevated levels of sales during the months of April and May. The Chinese car brand Xiaomi stated they will consider selling cars outside China after 2027. 2027 is the target as current sales in China have booked out production capacity until then, following the release of their popular SUV called the YU7. Reuters report that it is likely that only 15 Chinese EV brands will remain in China by 2030. There are currently 137 EV brands in China. If the report turns out to be true, this will mean a huge culling for unprofitable brands within the next 5 years. In F1 this week, Piastri was hit with a controversial 10-second penalty for braking in the rain behind the safety car. This had caused Norris to take the win at Silverstone. Verstappen spun out to finish the race at 5th. What this means is that it is even closer at the top between the two McLarens, with only 8 points separating the two. What was perhaps more delightful from the race was that Hulkenberg managed to snatch his first podium finish in his 239th start in F1. Lastly, rumours have circulated that Verstappen may take Russell's seat at Mercedes next year, although Russell won't have a hard time finding another seat given his current form. Finally for this week, we have some good news that the next Fast and Furious film for those that are still following the franchise will return to its street racing roots, which is good to see. Brian O'Connor will make a return despite the actor's passing. This will be the final film in the multi-decade long franchise. That was all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please look forward to weekly videos on an ongoing basis. On that bombshell, goodbye.